Hi there, I'm Rebecca and a really warm welcome back to my channel, PumpkinBecki. In this week's video we're going to be having a look at my hornbeam forest and expanding it quite a bit. Let's get started. So I started this forest in May last year. There's a card for it up there if you want to see that video. I knew it looked a little bit, quite literally, thin on the ground because I'd only got 3 trees for it. But I had visions of, as these are so tall, they're so tall you can't even see the tops. One of them's way above me. As they're so tall, I had considered doing some air layers as I'd had good success with an emergency air layer I'd done. But I knew that last year was too soon to try and do that, so I just got them potted in their training pot and just let them be for the year. I literally did nothing to them. Then I happened to be going past B&Q the other night and I thought, ooh, I could add some more trees to my little forest, and I ended up picking up 2 more pots of hornbeam. Here's one, and there is another. They're a lovely mixed size and the buds are just about to burst into leaf. The buds have swollen and we've definitely got the green tips of leaves showing here. So we're about the right time to do this. I don't want to leave it any later. These are grown for hedging purposes, so they're sort of a step up, I suppose, from bare root trees, being that they're potted, you know they're growing, so they're not fully dormant, and you can get them basically year round, whereas with bare root trees it tends to be winter only. So I need to get these unpotted first, and then we will get on to unpotting the forest. But buying truly bare root trees is a lot cheaper than what I've done here. Each of these pots was £12, so £4 a tree. For me that's great. These are, some of them are really nice and chunky. For somebody who's trying to build a big hedge, that's not very economical at all. These have got quite a lot of movement in them at the base. I don't know how well rooted they are. I'm going to attempt to do this quickly and with as little pain as possible. I'm just going to try and support all the trees and then upend them into a bucket. Ooh, oh. And the compost just fell off. It's probably coir. B&Q are doing everything with peat-free compost, which is fabulous, and actually they're coming away really cleanly, so I've not got much work to do on these in terms of getting soil off, which is fantastic. I'm going to have to do a lot of sweeping up after this. Completely exploded, but they've all got fab roots on them. Wow. Okay. Before I pot them on, I will also just go through and remove any dead leaves that are still hanging on to the tree. As you can see from my forest behind, there's still lots of leaves that it's retained over winter. So I don't think we'll spend too long going through the cleaning up of the root process. I will show you me looking for the best bases. You can see where these have been taken as cuttings, they've made roots, but then they've been shoved into a pot quite deep down, so other nodes have also shot out roots, and then we get into the tree itself. So the decision is, do I keep these roots as what will be my root flare? They're a bit staggered and a bit weird, or do I go for that really nice flat root plane that has been achieved where the cutting was taken? I think I already know my answer, I'm sure you do too, although The big problem here is that there would be inverse taper. So you can see we have some thickening here where the trunk would have met the soil, and then it does get actually significantly narrower as we get down to this lovely cutting point, which is a shame. So I'm probably actually going to end up having to take all that off. There's a good chance actually that if I tried to root that again, then I would get another tree. I've now got very long roots which I'm going to cut off. And I've got some quite high roots. Again, I have got that problem with the inverse taper. I think I will have to come up to those roots. As I said in last week's video, the time to do really tough work is when you've just taken it out of the pot or lifted it out of the ground. It has the most energy. It really is the best time to do any serious work on roots. I'm going to bring those back a little bit more. Okay, so that will be my first tree. This one is more complicated. I think I've got a similar problem in that this just sims down too much, but there's a lot more root on this particular tree. So I can come up pretty high, take off all of that. Wow, I mean, they've got great roots. If you're looking for really healthy trees, this is perfect stuff. There are a couple of slightly stacked roots. I'm just going to take off that higher one, and that one, and this thick one is stacked on top of a much nicer, slimmer one, so I'm going to take the top one off. This one is a pretty strong dominant root, and it's right at the point where the trunk is probably its thickest. I could probably actually just about get away with taking it off. Yep, same thing, so we get to this point, and that's probably the thickest point, and then it dramatically tapers down. I think I can just about get away with removing these top roots. And leaving myself with these ones before it starts to narrow down. It gets narrower after this particular root. So I think I'm all right with that. What's going on here? Oh, that was going up and round. Oops. So this one hasn't got quite as good a root system. not quite as radial as the others, but you know, it's a forest. They don't have to be the best of best. This has really got some big roots on it, and I could probably do with cleaning this out a bit. But I can already see that again, this is the fattest part of the trunk, and once we get below this root, it's really significantly tapering off. So I probably want to be cutting in here. Got a root here which is going round and over the top of the next one, so I am going to take that one off. Probably going to have to take that little top one off as well. But let's just do them one at a time. Yeah, I don't want to bring the roots down too much lower than this, because this is really where we start to see it taper away. I don't mind having a slightly longer stump here, certainly initially, because it will just help stabilise the tree in the forest planting a bit better. This big, strong, vigorous one has got some little feeder roots coming off it, so if I just chop it, reduce its vigour, and let the other ones start to grow. That's got some fun twists and turns. It doesn't start to thin till quite low actually. Something I could try, instead of air layering the tops off, is to just prune them back once I've got them planted, and then try planting the sticks as hardwood cuttings. I have to confess, I finished checking out at B&Q, not sponsored, and I was wheeling my cart away through the doors, feeling very proud of myself. And then I remembered that I have a very small car. Oh no. And it did take a bit of jiggery pokery to actually get them in the car. I'd have walked home with them and left the car. Okay, there's not too much else going on that one actually. So I'm just going to give that a rough cut. Remove the little fine ones coming off the trunk. has got some very strong roots which are growing straight down. And it's preventing me from flaring the roots at all. Now I need to try and do the same thing but with my forest. I'm just going to remove any moss and any weeds which have gathered on the surface over winter. This hasn't done too badly actually. And I can see that these are wired in. With a bit of a wrestle, I have managed to get it out of the pot. I think the drainage screen is still in the bottom. My microphone. And here we are. It's got some really good roots on it. I'm really surprised. I don't know why I'm surprised. I'm pleasantly surprised. So I'm going to go ahead and get rid of the rest of the Akadama now and then have a look at the roots. I seem to remember not having an awful lot of choices when I first planted these trees, so I had to just kind of leave on as... Oh, there's my knuckles again. So I had to leave on what I could, but some of these roots really do just need to come off. Even though this is now the point of inverse taper, maybe if I leave this on and I just change the planting position it won't be quite so strange. You can see it just totally goes in there. I can't do much about that. I almost don't want to make that any smaller because I want to leave that as wide as possible, as far as possible. I mean, this one really does have the worst root system, or did do, the worst root system of all the trees. But looking at how much growth they put on just in 1 year, I'm not too troubled by that. I think we'll be okay. As I say, the reason I can't at this point take this root off is because this becomes far too narrow and this becomes a point of inverse taper. Instead of using a sheet of mesh, which I did the first time round, I have now done individual pieces of drainage mesh in the bottom of the pot, and then I've used some of this massive lava that I've got because there are really big drainage holes at the bottom of each of the feet, and so by popping that sort of into those holes, it means I haven't got to try and get drainage mesh into them, but it will still prevent the substrate coming out and allow for drainage and all the good things. So I'm using that as a sort of perimeter around the pot, leaving the centre fairly clear. I am reusing my Akadama pumice lava mixture. It was only a year old and it's still in really good condition, so I can't waste it. I'm pretty sure this is going to be my main tree. So I think these are my 3 thickest trees.
Hello.
Hiya! Hang on, let me turn off the camera. Okay, so I think I've got 3 original trees placed now, and I've had the others just sitting in some water. So let me just find the slenderest ones, pop those to one side. You're pretty slender, then you. I have got a couple of pieces of wire coming off the greenhouse shelving, which is just sort of helping support everything, because as you know with forest building, this is the trickiest bit. They all start moving. I'm not a massive fan of forest plantings which really lean out. I get the point that if a tree is sitting on the side of a hill or something, that it might have a different angle of growth, trying to get away from the canopy of the other trees, but Yeah, I don't want it to look too fake, I guess. So obviously where the branches are clashing, I will be sort of dealing with that. So I'm just bridging the trees so that they hold together long enough for me to actually pot them up. I'll organise the planting angle when I actually get to that point. At the moment it's just a case of getting them positioned. Nicely mixed up in planes when I look sideways through the planting. Nobody's in alignment. Obviously these have fallen over, so that's not the actual planting angle I'm looking at. Let's see if I can just lift them back up again. I just want to sort of tack these in really, while I just have a little think about them. I really like that one there. Okay, I'm going to have to start working on this from different angles, so I'm just going to get in the way. So we'll come back when it's a little bit further along. My shoulders are killing me, we're losing daylight, and I'm really struggling to get these trees secured in the pot. I've tried a couple of methods and I've ended up having to just go with 4 posts in the corners and then using some fairly strong wire to sort of create a web that they're all sort of sitting in. I think it's going to help me if I can reduce the length of some of the really long ones, because every time as I turn the arrangement they're bashing and moving everything. So I'm just going to go in and do it. And I am putting all my cuttings into some water so I can hang on to them. I think I need to just start getting these trees more to the size that I want them. This is my main tree, so this one needs to be shorter. I'm going to pull it down to here. This one is my 3rd tree, so it needs to come a little bit lower than that one. I'm going to bring it to where that branch points outwards. I know the whole thing is hard to kind of make out now that I've got these bits of wire in, but I really needed them. Apart from everything, every time I tried to sort the soil level out, it was all moving round, and I've ended up with fairly flat now, so I need to go back in and have another go at that once I've sorted out the trees. Okay. That one's ended up a bit central, I'm not sure how. Oh, they're all looking really even. A little bit. Definitely don't like that one in the middle. And that one actually looks a little bit thicker, so I might move it forward and just leave that one as the very back. I absolutely adore looking at forest plantings. They are absolutely spectacular. As I've said before, my father and I were completely floored by a gorgeous, I think it must have been a maple planting when we went to Heron's nursery not that long after it opened in the 80s, and we were absolutely spellbound by it. Oh my word, they are complicated beasts. To do one of the really big ones, you must need an absolute army of people to just come and hold all the trees for you. We're getting there now, so I just need to find the height of the back ones, which are there to give us a sense of perspective. And like the forest carries on into the distance. So I now need to bring this one even shorter than that one, which probably means I actually need to bring it down to here. Well, I did not expect that to take all day, but I think we're there now. So obviously I took off the big lengths so that I could at least get this into the pot without it just keep exploding itself every time it touched something as I was turning it. And I tried various ways of securing the trees, and in the end I've ended up with 4 stakes which have wire on them, and that wire sort of crosses through and just helps support the tree. I'm not going to put this outside, I'm going to leave this in here because I don't think it would stand up to any weather until it's got some new root growth. I did then, as you saw, take down the heights of the trees and try and establish a slightly triangular format. Slightly hard to read because of the height of the corner posts, I'm sure, but again, we'll come back and have another look at this in the future, and hopefully you'll be able to see what I was trying to do. So overall, very pleased with this. Absolutely exhausted, but very pleased. It's so nice to see this moving on to another step, and I've got so much cutting material which I'm going to have to go and do something with right now. So I've got potential to add more trees to this in the future, hopefully. Right, that's it for this week's video. Thank you so much for watching. Please remember to like, share and subscribe to me here on YouTube. And until next time, bye.